cracking codes and simulating universes.
Right.
It always felt so, like, far out there, you know?
Totally.
But with all this talk about Google's Willow chip lately,
Yeah.
it really makes you wonder if we're actually on the edge of, like, a quantum revolution.
Yeah.
So today we're taking a deep dive into this whole Willow thing.
Okay.
We've got research papers,
Yeah.
tech articles,
Okay.
even some analysis from cybersecurity experts to try and figure out, does it really live up to the hype?
Sounds like we've got a lot to unpack.
We do.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you were really interested in learning more about Willow,
Yeah.
like its potential and all that.
Definitely.
So let's start with just like the basics.
Okay.
What is this Willow chip? What makes it so special?
So at its core, Willow is Google's next-gen quantum processor.
Okay.
It's built using these things called transmon qubits.
Okay.
Basically, imagine like tiny little circuits. They operate at these incredibly cold temperatures,
Wow.
like almost absolute zero,
Wow.
to minimize any kind of interference.
Wow, that's cold.
Yeah, it's like really, really cold.
Yeah.
And they basically use these kind of mind-bending laws of quantum mechanics to do these calculations.
Right.
In a way your laptop like couldn't even dream of.
Right. So we're talking about harnessing the power of the quantum world to do computing, essentially.
Exactly.
But one thing I remember from the articles is this huge hurdle in quantum computing is error correction.
Yeah.
Can you remind us why that's such a big deal and how Willow actually like tackles this?
Sure. So you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Quantum states they're notoriously fragile.
Yeah.
Like imagine trying to balance a pencil on its tip.
Okay.
The slightest disturbance can cause errors.
Yeah, like a temperature change.
Exactly. Even a tiny temperature change.
Yeah.
And these errors, they can snowball.
Yeah.
And basically the whole computation becomes useless.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Willow uses a really clever approach called the surface code
Oh.
for this error correction.
Yeah, I remember reading a little bit about that.
Yeah.
It's like weaving a safety net for these really delicate quantum states, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, but how does it actually work?
So think of it this way.
Okay.
Instead of having one single qubit
Right.
that's really prone to errors,
Yeah.
you create this what's called a logical qubit
Okay.
by entangling many physical qubits together
Right.
in this grid-like pattern.
Okay.
So even if a few of those individual qubits experience errors,
Right.
the logical qubit as a whole,
Yeah.
it remains protected.
Right. It's like having a backup system built right in.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's all about redundancy and clever entanglement.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
But the real question is, like, does this surface code actually deliver?
So this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Research papers show that as Google's engineers increased the size of this qubit lattice,
Okay.
the error rate decreased exponentially.
Wow, exponentially.
Exponentially.
Well, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and that's huge.
Okay.
It suggests that this error correction method can actually scale.
Wow.
And we could potentially build these larger and more complex quantum computers
Right.
without being crippled by errors.
Right.
So it's a crucial step towards making quantum computing reliable
Yeah.
for practical use.
That's a big claim.
It is.
Okay, so they've shown that this surface code approach can potentially solve this scalability issue.
Yeah.
But how do we know that Willow can actually like outperform our traditional computers?
Right.
Didn't they put it through some kind of test?
They did.
Oh.
And the results were pretty mind-blowing.
Okay.
So Google gave Willow a specific task, simulating a complex quantum system.
Right.
Now, this is a simulation that would take the world's most powerful supercomputer an estimated 10 septillion years.
10 septillion.
Septillion.
Yeah.
That's a lot of years.
That's a lot of years.
Okay.
To put that into perspective, that's longer than the entire age of the universe.
Wow, so we'd be waiting a while for those results.
We would.
Okay, how did Willow do?
Willow completed the simulation in under 5 minutes.
Seriously, 5 minutes versus 10 septillion years?
Yep.
That is an insane speed difference.
It is.
I see why people are calling this like a quantum supremacy moment.
Exactly. It really does demonstrate that quantum computers can tackle certain problems that are like practically impossible for even the most advanced classical computers.
Okay.
So it's a little glimpse into the future
Yeah.
where quantum computers could revolutionize entire industries.
Okay, so we've established that Willow is powerful, it's fast.
Right.
But let's get down to what I think you're really curious about, which is
What could this technology actually do in the real world?
right.
What are some of these potential applications that have you excited?
Well, there are a few key areas where Willow's advancements could have a massive impact.
Okay.
One of the most promising is optimization problems.
Okay.
Think about logistics, finance, even drug discovery.
Mm-hmm.
These fields often involve sifting through a huge number of possibilities
Right.
to find the absolute best solution.
So like finding a needle in a haystack, but on a much larger scale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what makes quantum computers so exciting is they have the potential to solve these complex optimization problems
Okay.
exponentially faster than classical computers.
Okay, so that's optimization. What are some other areas? I remember reading something about quantum computers being used for simulations.
Yeah, that's another really exciting area.
Okay.
Imagine being able to simulate
Yeah.
how molecules and materials behave at a fundamental level.
Right. So we're talking about things like designing new drugs.
Yeah.
With very specific properties.
Huh?
Or creating like entirely new materials that are like lighter, stronger, more durable.
Precisely.
Okay.
And the possibilities, they don't just stop there.
Okay.
We're also seeing a lot of research on using quantum computers for machine learning,
Okay.
potentially leading to AI that can learn and reason
Right.
in ways that are currently like beyond our grasp.
Okay. So AI that can think like humans.
Yeah.
That's fascinating and a little bit scary.
It is. It definitely raises a lot of interesting questions,
Right.
ethical and practical.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that are both fascinating and potentially scary,
Yeah.
we can't forget about cryptography.
Right. The whole idea of quantum computers potentially breaking, like our current encryption.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So on one hand, Willow's advancements could lead to unbreakable encryption methods,
Okay.
which would be huge for cybersecurity.
Right.
But on the other hand, it also means that
Yeah.
quantum computers could crack the codes that protect our sensitive data today.
Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword.
It is. It's something we definitely need to be thinking about very carefully.
Okay, so while we're on the topic of things to think about,
Yeah.
before we get too carried away with all the possibilities,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that Willow is still like a research project.
Right.
It's not like we'll all have quantum computers on our desks next week.
Exactly. No.
Right.
There are still some significant challenges
Okay.
that need to be overcome.
Like, what are some of the hurdles that researchers are still like grappling with?
Well, for one, we need to keep pushing the boundaries of how many qubits we can control reliably.
Okay.
While Willow has made significant progress, we need even more qubits working in sync
Right.
to tackle some of those really complex problems that we talked about.
So it's a matter of scale.
Yeah.
Like packing more qubits onto a chip without sacrificing stability.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of coherence time.
Okay.
We need those qubits to maintain their quantum states for longer periods of time
Right.
to allow for those more complex computations.
Right. Like extending that pencil balancing act
Yes.
for as long as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not easy.
Not easy.
Okay. And finally, we need to figure out how to like seamlessly integrate quantum computers with classical computers.
That's right.
It's not about replacement.
Right.
It's about like creating this hybrid system that leverages the strengths of both. Okay, so it's about building a more powerful like computing ecosystem.
Yeah.
Not just a better quantum computer.
Right.
Wow, it's incredible to think about how much work is still left to be done.
Yeah.
But also how much potential there is.
It really is a fascinating time to be following this field.
It is.
And speaking of things to think about, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Out of all these potential applications, which one are you most excited about?
Oh, wow.
Which area do you think quantum computing could truly revolutionize?
Honestly, it's hard to pick just one.
Yeah.
I mean, the potential impact on medicine, on material science, AI, even cybersecurity.
Yeah.
It's all so mind-boggling.
It is.
I guess if I had to pick one area that really captures my imagination, it would be drug discovery.
Okay.
The idea that we could use quantum computers to design these like hyper-targeted drugs.
Yeah.
Maybe even like personalized medicine tailored to your like specific genetic makeup,
Right.
that feels like something straight out of science fiction.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
The implications for healthcare are truly profound.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to simulate the complex interactions of molecules.
Yeah.
Like at an atomic level. We can understand how drugs work in the body with like unprecedented precision.
Okay.
Potentially minimizing side effects.
Right.
And maximizing effectiveness.
And it's not just about developing new drugs.
Right.
Think about like understanding diseases.
Yeah.
Like cancer or Alzheimer's at a much deeper level. Yeah. Maybe we could even like design preventative therapies based on a person's like unique genetic predispositions.
Exactly.
It's a whole new frontier in medicine.
Absolutely. And even beyond healthcare.
Yeah.
The possibilities are really endless.
Okay.
Let's take material science, for example.
Okay.
Imagine being able to simulate the properties of new materials before even creating them in a lab.
So you could like design materials with specific properties for specific applications, like a super strong but lightweight material for like aerospace, or a highly efficient material for like solar panels.
Exactly. We could revolutionize entire industries by tailoring materials to meet very specific needs.
And let's not forget about the potential impact on artificial intelligence.
Right. The idea of quantum machine learning.
Yeah. I have to admit, this is the area that both excites and terrifies me.
Yeah.
What if we create AI that can truly think and learn like humans? Or even surpass us?
Right.
Those are some really important questions.
Those are some really important questions.
Yeah.
And honestly, we don't have all the answers yet.
Right.
As we go deeper into quantum computing, we need to be mindful of the potential consequences, both positive and negative. We need to make sure that this technology is developed and used responsibly.
Absolutely. It's like we're opening Pandora's box. And we need to be prepared for what might come out. Right. But before we get too lost in the ethical quandaries of a quantum future, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. The challenge of scaling up quantum computers.
Okay.
We talked about the need for more qubits.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to know more about how that actually works in practice.
Sure. One of the key aspects of scaling up is not just adding more qubits, but also making them more stable and less prone to errors.
Right. Yeah.
Remember that surface code that we discussed earlier?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that this method becomes even more effective as the size of the qubit lattice increases.
So the more qubits you have, the more robust the system becomes.
Exactly.
It's almost counterintuitive.
Yeah.
You'd think that more qubits would mean more opportunities for errors.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But the beauty of the surface code is that it leverages the principles of entanglement and redundancy to create this kind of self-correcting network.
Okay.
Think of it like having multiple backup generators for a power grid. Okay. If one generator fails, the others can pick up the slack.
Right.
And that ensures that the system as a whole remains stable.
That's a great analogy.
Same.
It really highlights the importance of not just quantity, but also quality when it comes to qubits.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's why researchers are exploring different types of qubits and different approaches to error correction.
Right.
It's a constant race to find that optimal balance between scalability, stability, and performance.
It's like trying to juggle multiple balls while riding a unicycle. You need to keep all the elements in harmony to achieve success.
Exactly.
But even with all the progress being made, it seems like quantum computing is still a long way from being like truly mainstream.
It's true. We're still in those early stages.
Okay.
But if you look back at the history of computing, the pace of innovation has been astounding.
Right.
What once filled entire rooms now fits in our pockets.
Right.
It's not unreasonable to think that quantum computers could follow a similar trajectory.
I guess that's what makes this field so exciting.
Yeah.
It's the potential for exponential progress.
Right.
The possibility that we're on the verge of something truly revolutionary.
And that brings us to another important point.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the technical aspects of quantum computing, but we also need to think about the broader implications.
Right.
This technology has the potential to, like, reshape entire industries. And we need to be prepared for the social and economic impacts.
Absolutely. We need to have conversations about things like workforce development, ethical considerations, even the potential for like disruption in various sectors. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we adapt as a society to a quantum future.
And that's where you, the listener, come in.
Right.
It's important to stay informed about these advancements and to engage in these conversations.
Right.
The future of quantum computing is going to be shaped.
Yeah.
Not just by scientists and engineers, but by all of us.
Well said. Now, I have a confession to make.
Okay.
Even after all this discussion, my brain is still struggling to wrap itself around the sheer strangeness of quantum mechanics.
It's a mind-bending subject.
It is. It's like trying to understand a language from another dimension.
Even physicists who have dedicated their lives to studying it sometimes admit that they don't fully understand it.
So I'm wondering if are there any like helpful analogies or metaphors that can make these concepts a bit more digestible for the average person?
I mean, we've talked about like spinning coins and entangled particles.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that can help us grasp the essence of what makes quantum computing so different from classical computing?
There are a few other analogies that might be helpful.
Okay.
One that I like is to think of a classical computer as a light switch.
Okay.
It can be either on or off, representing a bit that is either 0 or 1.
Okay.
But a quantum computer is like a dimmer switch.
Okay.
It can be in a superposition, representing a qubit that is both 0 and 1 at the same time.
So instead of a binary state, it's more like a spectrum of possibilities.
Exactly.
Okay, I can kind of visualize that.
Yeah.
But what about entanglement?
Right.
That's one that really like blows my mind.
Entanglement is it is a bit trickier to grasp.
Yeah. One analogy is to think of two gloves.
Okay.
One right-handed and one left-handed.
Okay.
If you put each glove in a separate box and send them to different parts of the world, you wouldn't know which glove is in which box.
Right.
Until you open one.
Right.
But the moment you open one box and you see a right-handed glove, you instantly know that the other box contains the left-handed glove. Right. No matter how far apart they are.
It's like they're connected by this invisible thread, even across vast distances.
Exactly.
And that's what allows for this spooky action at a distance.
Precisely.
Wow.
And it's this very property of entanglement that gives quantum computers their unique power. Okay. By entangling multiple qubits. We can create these complex correlations and perform calculations that are simply impossible for classical computers.
It's amazing to think that we're harnessing these like bizarre quantum phenomena to do computations.
It is.
But as mind-blowing as all this is, I think it's important to remember that quantum computing is not a magic bullet.
Right.
There are still limitations and challenges that need to be addressed.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
While we've made tremendous progress, there's still a lot of work to be done. Okay. In the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Let's explore some of the key hurdles that researchers are facing in their quest to build truly practical quantum computers.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so we've talked about the potential, but like you said, it's not all smooth sailing.
Right.
What are some of the biggest roadblocks on this road to a quantum revolution?
Well, I think one of the most fundamental challenges is just the sheer complexity of actually building these machines.
Right.
Remember, we're dealing with this incredibly delicate world of quantum mechanics where even the slightest disturbance can cause errors.
Right. We talked about those fragile qubits and the constant like battle against decoherence.
Exactly.
It's like trying to build a house of cards in a hurricane.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the key hurdles is is figuring out how to control and manipulate a large number of these qubits while keeping them stable and entangled.
Right.
Right now, even the most advanced quantum computers have a relatively small number of qubits compared to, what's theoretically needed for some of those really game-changing applications that we've been talking about.
Right. So it's not just about building bigger quantum computers. It's about building better ones.
Exactly.
Right. More qubits that are also more stable and less prone to those errors.
Yeah, precisely. And that brings us to another challenge.
Okay.
Coherence time.
Okay.
The longer a qubit can maintain that quantum state,
right,
the more complex the calculations it can participate in.
Okay.
But even with transmon qubits, which are relatively long-lived, decoherence is still a major limiting factor.
So it's a race against time to get the computation done before those qubits lose their quantumness, basically.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Are there any promising avenues that researchers are exploring to extend this coherence time?
There are.
Okay.
Some researchers are experimenting with different types of qubits.
Okay.
Like topological qubits.
Okay.
Which are, theoretically more robust to noise.
Okay.
Others are exploring ways to actively correct for errors, as they occur.
So like a real-time spell checker, but for quantum computations?
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of ingenuity going into tackling these challenges.
There is.
But let's say, hypothetically,
yeah,
we do manage to overcome all these hurdles and build these large-scale fault-tolerant quantum computers.
Right.
What then? How do we actually integrate these exotic machines with the classical computers that we use every day?
That's another critical piece of the puzzle. It's unlikely that quantum computers will completely replace classical computers anytime soon.
Right.
Instead, we're likely to see this kind of hybrid approach.
Okay.
Where quantum computers are used for specific tasks that they excel at.
Right. So it's about figuring out how to make these two very different types of computing work together seamlessly,
exactly.
like a tag team.
Yeah, like a tag team. That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we need to develop new algorithms, software and hardware, that allow for efficient communication and data transfer between these classical and quantum systems.
So it's a whole new paradigm of computing.
It is.
Wow.
And it's going to require a lot of innovation across multiple disciplines.
It's incredible to think about all the pieces that need to fall into place to make this quantum revolution a reality.
It is.
But even with all the challenges, there's this sense of excitement, like we're really on the cusp of something truly transformative.
There is, and it's important to remember that scientific progress is often unpredictable.
Right.
Breakthroughs can happen unexpectedly, and new discoveries can just change the game entirely.
Right.
So while there's still a long road ahead, the journey itself is full of possibilities.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the mind-bending basics of quantum mechanics to the potential applications and the daunting challenges that lie ahead.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
It has.
And I hope it sparked some curiosity.
It has, for sure.
About the future of computing.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest takeaway is that while we're still in the early days of this quantum journey, the progress being made is truly remarkable.
It is.
And even though there are still many hurdles to overcome, the potential rewards are so vast that it's hard not to be optimistic.
I completely agree. And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe one day those sci-fi dreams of quantum computers simulating entire universes might not seem so far-fetched after all.
Well, until then, we'll keep our eyes on the quantum horizon.
Sounds good.
And we'll be back with more deep dives into the world of science and technology.
Looking forward to it.
So until next time, stay curious.
Stay curious.